Welcome in subject Engineering Materials and Metallurgy. I am Professor A.P. Godke, Assistant Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering of S&D College of Engineering and Research Center, Bagolgaon, Yoga. Today we will discuss about the some important topics of our subject Engineering Materials and Metallurgy, which is a metallography. So this presentation topic includes the following important points. So, what is metallography? That we will see. What is a microstructure and macrostructure? That we are going to see. Next, how the metallography term comes from where? So, origin of metallography that we will cover. Then classification of metallography. Then difference between macro examination and micro examination. And final is a step involved in the microscopy. So these are the some of the important topics that we are going to cover in metallography. So first, what is meant by metallography? So metallography is the science of evaluating metal structure and its characteristics. So the study of material structure or metal structure and its characteristics is called as a metallography. So this is the basic definition of metallography. It is the science of evaluating metal structure and its characteristics. Next term, what is the microstructure? So it is the characteristics, appearance and physical arrangement of metal as observed with the microscope. So the microstructure is nothing but the appearance of the physical arrangement of metal, and that physical arrangement we can observe from the microscope. That's why this study is called as a microscopic study, and the that characteristics, appearance, so and physical arrangement is called as a microstructure of the metal. Now, what is meant by macrostructure? So it is different than the microstructure. Uh, it is the appearance and physical arrangement as observed with the naked eyes or with the low power magnification. So such a structure is called as a macrostructure. So there is a difference between microstructure and macrostructure. So the basic difference is that the structure which can be observed by human eyes or naked eyes or with low power magnification, such a structure is called as a macrostructure. And if the appearance and characteristics can be studied with the help of the microscope, then such a structure is called as a microstructure. So the from where the metallography term comes, so the origin of metallography is nothing but it is a developed, or the term is defined by the Henry Clifton Storbe in who born on 1826 year and died in 1908 year. So the critical factor in the light microscopy of metal is the surface preparation of the specimen. So this is the basic insight discovered by the father of metallography, Henry, who was the first person to examine correctly polished and chemically each metal sample under the microscope in 1863. So in 1863, the first microscopic study or the observation is made by this scientist Henry Clifton. So that is nothing but the origin of the metallography in 1863 year. So the classification of metallography. So there are basically two types of metallographies are there. So one is a macro examination, or it is also called as a macroscopy, or it is also called as a macrography. So the examination without microscope is a macrography or macroscopy or macro examination. So these examination can be carried out by naked eyes of the human being. So that's why these examinations are called as a macro examination, which are the part of the metallography. So through that also we can study the or we can perform the metallographic study of the metal or materials. So this is the second first type of the metallography, and second one is a micro examination or microscopy, or it is also called as a micrography. So it is a very detailed study of metal structure is carried out in micro examination. So the special purpose of metallographic microscope is required. So this study cannot be performed under my naked human eyes. So or low power magnification, we cannot perform this type of examination. So for that we have to go with the microscope with the high illumination and high magnification power. So such study is called as a micro examination, or it is also called as a microscopy or micrography. Next, we will see the difference between the micro examination and macro examination. So examination is nothing but to do the study and evaluate the some results in the form of properties or some parameters. So the micro examination, it involves the study of metal structure and their alloys under the microscope at magnification from 20x to 2000x magnification, and the observed structure is called as a microstructure. So whenever we study the metal structure and alloy structure under the microscope with the magnification of 20x to 2000x, such examination is called as a micro examination. Next is a macro examination. It involves the study of the metal structure and their alloys by naked eyes or by low power magnification up to 15x. So the observed structure is called as a macro structure. So you can clearly see in here the difference of magnification. So it is a 20x to 2000x for micro examination, and 15x is for macro examination. Means very low power magnification is considered in macro examination, while very high power magnification is considered for micro examination. So this is the main difference. So magnification on a microscope refers to the amount or degree to which the object observed is enlarged. So that is what magnification is. So the degree to which the object observed is enlarged. So enlargement of the object is carried out in magnification or by magnification. So it is measured by multiplies such as 2x, 4x, 10x, indicating that the object is enlarged twice as big, 4 times as big, or big or 10 times as a big respectively. So this x is the multiplying factor, and 2 is the times for that multiplying factor x. So the with respect to the original image, the magnification, if it is a 2x, then it will be the twice enlargement is possible by using the microscopic examination. If it is a 4x, then 4 times enlargement is done with the original picture of the microstructure. And if it is a 10x, then 10 times the enlargement of the microstructure with respect to the original image of the material or structure of the material. So this is what about the magnification of any microscope. Next, use. So what is the use of the metallography? So the microscope magnification is useful in studying biological structure. So the microscope use is to study the biological structure, and if it is applicable for the metal, then it is called as a metallurgical microstructure, and that study is called as a metallurgical structures. Next, now we will you can see one example for the flakes of graphite in and cast iron or gray cast iron. So here you can clearly visible the flakes from the graphite present in the flakes form, which is a dark black color, and white color is another phase which is called as a pearlite or ferrite phase is there. So this type of microstructure can be easily observed under the microscope, comes under the microscopic examination, so that we can identify the which type of material is or metal is there. So if graphite flakes form is there, then you can clearly indicate that this type of material is called as a gray cast iron. Then this is a second example for the examination, which is comes under the macro examination. So this examination can be performed by a naked eyes or below 15x magnification. So comes under the macro examination. So previous one, this will come under the micro examination, and this will come under the macro examination. So the macro sector of an offset forging showing the flow lines. So here you can observe the flow lines. These flow lines represent the which type of manufacturing process is carried out to produce this component. So if these type of flow lines you can see, so this type of component is a forged component. Some another flow lines are also there. For some example, like if it is a cast component, then you can observe the porosity or small pits on the structure of the material. And if it is a machining operation like turning, facing, etc., then you can observe the straight lines for the represent that manufacturing process of the component. So that structure can be visible or observed through a naked eyes or below 15x magnification. That's why such type of example is comes under the macro sector. Now, second important difference is the involve much smaller areas and brings out the information which can never be revealed by macro examination. Means the study which cannot be performed under the or does not carried out by the macro examination. Such a study or smaller areas or very small examination or minute examination can be performed. That's why it will come from the micro examination. So the macro examination gives a broad picture of the interior of the metal by studying relatively large sectional area. So we can consider the large sectional area for the observation. So that will comes under the macro examination. So here the next difference is between the micro examination and the macro examination. So the aim of the both the parameter or both the examination are same. That is nothing but to do the quite same, but some of the important parameters are different for both the examination. So that we will be studying now. So the first aim of the micro examination to determine the chemical content of the alloy. To determine the chemical content of the alloy. So that can be how much amount of alloying elements are present in the material. That can be studied using the micro examination. Then to discover the micro defects, also we can perform the micro examination. To reveal the structures, characteristics, for that also we can perform the microscopic examination. To determine the size and shape of the crystals or crystallites, that is the main objective of micro examination. Then to indicate the quality of heat treatment or which type of heat treatment process is carried out, that also can be find out using the micro examination. Then the aim of macro examination is to reveal the size, form and management of crystallites in the cast metal. Then to reveal the cracks appearance during the certain fabrication process, that's nothing but a manufacturing process. And then to reveal the fibers in the deformed metal, that also can be seen through macro examination. To reveal the shrinkage, porosity and gas cavities, that is nothing but cast components are there. So that can also studied using the macro examination. And to find out the cause of failure of the component or parts, that can also be studied by using the macro examination. Next is what are the prerequisites for the micro examination and macro examination. So the in micro to perform the micro examination, it requires proper surface preparation of the specimen. While in macro examination, it does not to be taken to such that a high degree of surface finish, and so the final stage of the polish can be omitted. So there is no need to do the any surface preparation or any sample preparation a process for macro examination. In micro examination, the examination requires that the polished specimen surface should be etched and with the suitable reagents or etchant. So the etchant, just like a nitrile or nitric acid plus alcohol, is suitable for steel material or cast iron material with the some amount or proper amount. So the microscopic examination, the surface of the sample should be polished and etchant should be applied. Then macro examination is the carried out and etchant surface. So there is also we can use the etchant for the macro examination also. Next, we will see what are the steps involved in the microscopy. So as we know, for macroscopic examination, there is no need to go for the sample preparation. We can directly go for the macro examination. But in case of microscopy, we have to we have to prepare the sample with the high polish and we have to apply the etchant. So there are three basic steps. First step is a sample preparation. Second step is a etching, and third step is observation under the microscope and interpretation. That is nothing but extract the results for the examination. So we will see in detail these how that steps are being carried out. So first sample preparation, it also involves the four main stages. That is nothing but first is a sampling, second one is a mounting, third one is a rough polishing, and fourth one is a fine polishing. So that will be there in the sample preparation. So the sampling is the first step, mounting is the second step, rough polishing and fine polishing. These are the steps that we have to carry out in the sample preparation. So sampling, what in by sampling? The sampling is nothing but it is the adequate and true representative sampling leads to correct results. So in sampling, what we are performing, we are taking a one section of the metal for the sample preparation. So that is why sampling. Second one is a mounting. The simple has to go undergo many rounds for polishing before reaching. So this needs to easy handling of these samples. So very small and odd shaped samples which are difficult to hold and operate for a series of polishing operation needs to be mounted. So the after sampling we have to go for the mounting process because mounting it will fit the sample or we can have the coating for the sample so that it should be safe during the macro examination or further polishing or fine polishing or coarse polishing operation is performed. So rough polishing, it involves the polishing on emery paper according to the degree of fitness. Then the fineness of the emery paper increases from 0 to 0.0000. So the every time when emery paper change, the direction of polishing is also changed. So this will called as a rough polishing. So after mounting, we have to perform the rough polishing operation. So for that, emery paper is used. So how much fine surface we require depending on we have to select the emery paper. The size is increases from 0 to 4 times 0. So the every time when emery paper change, the direction of the polishing is also changed. So that required fineness of the sample surface or specimen surface is achieved. Next one is a fine polishing. So this will also perform the mirror like finishing for the material surface. So special quality cloths mounted on the flat rotating disc so that it can perform the fine polishing of the operation. So the abrasive particles such as alumina, diamond paste suspended in water are added in the cloth to perform the fine polishing operation. So it produces the mirror finish at the prepared surface. Next important second step is the etching. So in etching, etchant or the a mixture of some alcoholic products is added and used to reveal the grain boundaries and various phases present in the steel. So the etching is performed to reveal or to open the grain boundaries so that we can observe the microstructure under the microscope. So the etching distinguishes the different phases and grain boundaries. This step is the most before seeing the sample under the microscope. Means before putting the sample under the microscope lens, we have to apply the etching compulsory. So if etchant is not applied, the grain boundary does not relieve and we does not get the any kind of microstructure under the microscope. So the application of etchant, so it can be either by swabbing with the cotton saturated or by immersing the sample into the etchant. So there are two methods to apply the etchant on the sample. One is the swabbing with the cotton cloth, or second one is the immerse, or that is nothing but the dipping of the sample surface into the etchant, and then after that we have to clean the surface by running water so that the grain boundaries becomes open. So the commonly or popularly used etchant for the ferrous sample, that is nothing but for cast iron or steel. We are going with the use the nitrile as a most popular etchant, or most likely to be used. The etchant is a nitrile, that is not nitric acid plus ethyl alcohol. So which is the commonly used etchant for the ferrous material. Nitric acid plus alcohol. Next, third important step in the microscopic examination is observation of the microstructure under microscope and interpretation. So the following are the some of the typical metallurgical microscopes. So the optical microscope is there, then SEM scanning electron microscope is there, then TEM is there, transmission electron microscope is there, and agar electron microscope is also there. So these are the different microscope are there which can be used to observe the microscope structure of the material under the microscope, and we can predict the results of the microscopic examination. Next, macro examination. So broadly, examination of metal or alloy with naked eyes or low power lenses up to 20x magnification is called as a macro uh, examination or macroscopy. So the it can perform under the 15x or up to maximum it can be extended up to 20x, but it should not be go beyond the 20x. So the below 20x or 15x range, it can consider as a low power lenses, which comes under the macro examination. So the utility of macro examination, though segregation of inclusions such as sulfides, phosphides, and oxides, that can be visualized by using the macro examination. Then the flow of metal, the processes, that is the flow line observations can be performed. Which type of manufacturing method is used for the component, that can be identified by using the macro examination. So that is called as a flow line observation test. Either component is manufactured by a forging process, casting process, or cutting process. Next one is a porosity, that is also can be visualized by using the macro examination. Then defects can be identified, that is some kind of cracks are there, or some kind of defect is there, irregularity is there. So that can be identified by using the macro examination. Then examination of fractured surface also carried out using the macro examination. Then size, shape, and distribution of inclusion also can be studied using the macro examination. Then steps, what are the steps involved in the macro examination, that we will see here. So first is a preparation of the specimen. Second one is a macro etching if required. And third one is the interpretation of the observation. So these are the simple stages or steps in the macro examination. So here there is no need to do the fine polishing or specimen mounting, or coarse polishing is not required. So in special cases the etching is required. In some or maximum popular macro examination there will be no any requirement of the etching, but in some cases it will require the etching. Then preparation of the specimen include the sections. Specimen is made up of a free from dust, grease, then a moderate polishing done by emery paper, then some specimen required further fine polishing before etching. Then second one is a macro etching. Volume of etchant required is much larger than the micro examination. Specimen withdraw from the etchant is washed under the water and then dried by means of a warm air. So that will be performed for the uh, macro examination. Now we will see one important macroscopic test, which is called as a flow line test. So the flow line detection is comes under the macroscopic examination. So when we perform the forging operation, it makes the metal to flow in a particular direction. The slag particle or inclusion generally present in the ferrous metal also flows in the direction of the flow of the overall metal. So the flow line indicates the flow of metal. So what is meant by flow lines? The discontinuous lines due to etching of these, the slag particles known as flow lines as they indicate the flow of the metal. So this is what flow lines. So the slag particle known as a flow lines as they indicate the flow of the metal. So during the formation of the metal, though the etching of these slag particles are formed, so that is called as a flow lines. So this is the one of the example of the macro examination flow line observation. So you can observe here the flow lines during the formation of the metal or the material during the forging operation. Okay. So these are the discontinuous lines which shows the slag or particles or inclusion in the material. So this will be considered as a flow line observation. So the flow line detection techniques, the surface for the flow line detection is polished by emery paper according to the grade. Then prepare the specimen is immersed in 50% aqueous solution of the hydrochloric acid and maintain at 70 degree for the duration of the 10 minutes. And the macro each specimen is observed for flow lines. So in this way we can perform the flow line observation detection test comes under the macroscopic examination. So this is all about the metallography of our subject.